values, needs, and dreams of the people, especially our youth. So I have to ask, how can we justify 170 million toward a vision that doesn't uplift our communities? We always say children are the future. But what kind of future are we building for them? Are we telling them their future is jails and punishment? Or can we show them a future rooted in care, opportunity, and hope? You have a choice. We all do. If we can find 170 million for policing, then we can find it for the youth programs, mental health care, education, job, training, and the real building blocks of safety. We're not here to tear anything down. We're here to build with you a future for our young people that we can believe in. Thank you.
Speaking on item 16, Latricia Lewis, Anthony Sanchez of Precinct 2, Jada Ottman of Precinct 1, Jackie Ottman of Precinct 1, Marilyn Allen of Precinct 1. You each have 1 minute.
Good afternoon. My name is Latricia Lewis. I want to talk about the proposed council pay raises and why they worry me. Right now, Harris County has a bunch of constable offices and a lot of stuff that overlap with each other with the sheriff's office. That means the same neighborhoods get covered more than once and taxpayers are paying for the same work twice. Giving huge raises doesn't fix this kind of wastefulness. Over the next 5 years, these raises could cost over $1 billion. And some of that money might just go to the work that's already being done. That's money that could instead help families keep kids in after-school programs, support community centers, and pay for health clinics. If the office worked together, we would get more out of every dollar. Skipping this step could end up costing more later and force cuts to programs people actually need. Please think about the families and kids who rely on these services. Thank you.
Thank you.
So look, check game. Is it not a strange paradox that those sworn to uphold justice demand greater treasure for their watch, while those that labor to ease the roots of the crimes by providing resources for the underprivileged community are stripped of their means? Tell me, what becomes of the moral code when coins weigh conscience? Does true safety spring from the rattle gold in an armored hand, or from the steadfast ethics that lift the fallen towards light? Y'all need to ask yourself that. My name's Anthony Sanchez. I was incarcerated 10 and a half years. I've been home 3 years. I understand the adversities the underserved communities face and how hard it is to reintegrate back into society. I understand the struggles that we face growing up being Latino in the hood, in the slums, in the ghettos. I'm just asking y'all to look into this. Y'all the ones that make this decision. God bless y'all. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your advocacy and turning your life around. That's really amazing.
Good afternoon. My name is Marilyn Allen, and I'm with Collective Action for Youth. I'm a resident of Precinct 4. ARPA funds were meant to help communities recover from the pandemic, to invest in programs that support families, youth, housing, and public health. But instead of honoring that purpose, this budget uses ARPA dollars to cover a deficit. That may look good on paper, but in reality, it means pulling resources away from the very communities that need the most. It means programs that already are working may be cut, leaving families without support and youth without opportunities. When we use relief funds to patch up holes in the budget, we take away from tools that prevent crime and keep our communities safe. Harris County deserves a better budget, rather than a quick fix that comes at the expense of our future.
Good afternoon. My name is Jada Ottman, and I stand before you to advocate for our youth. I am a mentor, and the proposed public safety budget directly affects those I work with. While public safety is important, increasing the budget is not the solution we need. Communities thrive because of strong schools, accessible mental health services, affordable housing, and job opportunities, not from patrolling. Adding funds to the police department doesn't reduce crimes, it shifts focus from root causes. Instead, we should focus on prioritizing prevention. Youth need more than enforcement. They need engagement. They need mentorship programs, community centers, and trauma-informed care. We need to invest in our future leaders. A safer community is one where people have what they need to live with dignity. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Jackie Ottman, and I'm here to advocate for the Juvenile Justice Community Reinvestment Fund. Specifically, I am asking that the fund be put under juvenile probation and earmarked for the existing cohort of organizations so that they may continue to do the great work that they are doing. I am also encouraging you to use the ARPA funds for their original intent, which is to restore communities. Keep programs for seniors. I personally am benefiting from some of the programs that are available. At Hester House, at age 60, I learned to swim. At Finnegan Park, at age 63, I started weightlifting and doing weight exercises. So again, please keep those programs in our communities. Please keep the reinvestment fund. Continue to fully fund it. They're doing amazing work. They're able to work on behalf of youth and families and have that fund administered by the Juvenile Probation Department. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Speaking on item 2, Selena Harbor. Speaking on item 16, Jernard Brown of Precinct 3. Speaking on items 16 and 21, Palwasha Sharwani of Precinct 1. Speaking on item 16, Brady Lewis of Precinct 3. Speaking on item 21, Alexi Swarsky of Precinct 3, and Coretta Brown. You each have 1 minute.
Good morning, County Judge and Commissioners. My name is Selena Harbor. I am a member and Community Outreach Coordinator for PWN, Pure Justice, and a resident of Precinct 1. I am here today because I am concerned about the health care cuts that have been passed with the big, horrible bill, because it is anything but beautiful. I am concerned about how the county will help to counteract the funding cuts in the 2026 budget. I have seen previous versions of the proposed budget. The version dated September 1st, version 3, has a reduction in goal 4, which is to improve mental and physical health outcomes of the Harris County residents. There was a $1 million reduction. So it went from $108 million.
Your time is up.
To $107 million. People are expected to lose
Thank you. Your
healthcare,
time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Jernard, who they go get Brown, and I have something to say. Commissioners, I want to address the proposed shift in funding cutting youth prevention programs while increasing law enforcement budget. This approach is not only redundant, it's short-sighted. Out of 150 young people in our Credible Messenger pilot program, only 2 reoffended. That's an incredible low recidivism rate and clear evidence that preventions work. When we cut these programs, we're not saving money. We're guaranteeing higher costs down the road in courts, incarceration, public safety strains. A better solution is a balance. Investing in programs that keep kids out of the justice system in the first place while ensuring law enforcement has the support it needs. Public safety doesn't start with handcuffs. It starts with opportunity, mentorship, and prevention. Let's keep funding what works instead of doubling up on what's not needed. If we invest in prevention today, we don't have to pay for incarceration tomorrow.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners and Judge. Today I stand before you echoing Judge Hidalgo's sentiment. Law enforcement officers deserve to be paid when their service is just, moral, and truly protects all communities. But I cannot support law enforcement raises that come at the expense of housing, mental health care, food security, reentry programs, and other lifelines funded by ARPA. These are the very programs that keep us safe and stable, and I am a product of them. To cut them now just to boost police salary sends the message that law enforcement matters more than people's survival. I urge you not to balance the budget by stripping resources from our communities. Invest in people. That is real public safety. Thank you.
Please state your name for the record.
Brady Lewis.
My name is Palwasha Sherwani. I'm a resident of Precinct 1 and CD 18. Victim services and early childhood education are investments in public safety. They're crime prevention, reducing vulnerability to being victimized in the first place or re-victimized again. They're human focused, and the more you invest in these items, the less you need the police. Victims call shelters and social workers before dialing 911 because that era of public trust in law enforcement is over. It is done. So when will there be enough law enforcement, rich enough law enforcement, to make our politicians feel like they've achieved the safety goal? When will we be safe enough, according to police unions, as poverty explodes around the rest of us? When I was victimized, my recovery needs were holistic, years long, and costly, but I was privileged. I had an amalgamated support system. After working in the DV ecosystem as an advocate just for a summer, I am horrified by how underfunded it is.
Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Coretta Brown, and I represent Bridges to Empowerment. I am opposed to the constables receiving a pay raise in this budget. Nowhere does anyone get a 60% raise the first year on the job. Bridges to Empowerment have a relationship with Precinct 1 and Precinct 4, but Judge, I have supported your last two elections. This is the first time that I have witnessed such infighting, and it's important that it ends. You all have highly competent leaders on your team that knows how to go find the money via grants and such. All I would say is this: I trust you all to continue funding a program that keeps folks committing crimes, that keeps folks from committing crimes and making our communities less safe. Work together or watch justice reform suffer at the polls.
Thank you so much. Very good
I
message.
agree, and I'd like my colleagues to join me in negotiating this commitment that they made that is not firm yet, so that we can do that. Thank you.
Our county has a moral responsibility to protect its residents. Keeping us alive is a top priority. One of the most important ways we do this is through law enforcement. If someone is a victim of crime and murder, they can't take advantage of county programs. The elected constables are in a unique position. They are both experienced and trained professionals, and they're also elected. They should be paid in line with other appointed professionals in the county, such as the medical examiner. To attract and retain the best people in these positions, Harris County must provide pay that reflects both the difficulty and the importance of the job. As the third largest county in the United States, with over 5 million people to protect, we need the best elected constables we can get. And these county employees can turn off the phone and get a good night's sleep, the ones that are highly paid but are not constables. Constables don't have that luxury. It's a 24-hour job, 7 days a week. Please give final approval to these raises for both the high-performing elected constables and the high-performing enlisted constables so we don't lose their invaluable contributions to Harris County residents. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Please state your name for the record, ma'am.
My name is Alexi Swirsky.
Judge, that's all the speakers.
Judge.
Thank you. Thank you so much for everybody who spoke. Yes, Commissioner.
We do have one more, Constable Smokey Phillips. I want to extend a courtesy and let him speak.
Oh, yes. I did not see him. Constable, welcome.
Good afternoon, Judge, Commissioners. Law enforcement should protect every equally community in our Harris County. Well, in my precinct, we have marginalized, disadvantaged, and underserved communities, undermining public safety. In Houston Harris County, there's a list of the 10 most dangerous apartment complexes. 5 of the apartment complexes are in my jurisdiction. If we know, years ago, Sunnyside was listed as the second most dangerous neighborhood in the nation. Building trust and creating safety plans are important. Years ago, when we annexed out into Southwest Houston, we accepted 18 low housing apartment complexes. Five of those are middle class neighborhoods, but the complexes were disadvantaged, underserved, and communities. We only received 2 additional deputies. I sent a form down to all the commissioners requesting more staffing to cover these communities.
Go ahead, Constable.
I brought Sergeant Jones, Captain Jones, to do a study on what we need as far as my department being disenfranchised. I'm in a building that sewage runs rapidly in my office. When it rains, the tiles fall down, and outside generators stop working. But I asked Captain Jones to do a study on disenfranchised in my community in my constable's office. Captain Jones.
Good afternoon. My name is Captain Jones. I just want to briefly go over some of the things that I found in doing a quantitative analysis in some of the civil service efforts for Precinct 7. I know you have...
Captain, is it brief? I want to be respectful.
Yes, it is.
I know you all didn't sign up, but, I do want to suggest you visit with the budget office, but I'll let you speak briefly. But
Thank you, Commissioner. One of the first things that we did is we did a 10-year analysis on papers that were served, papers that was executed, and papers that was returned for service and the attempted service for Precinct 7 since year 2016 to 2025. And what we found is that since 2003, we have not had any additional allocation of civil deputies that was added. So typically what's happening now is we have an active attempted service of 3,500 to 5,000. And the best practices for TCO for services is 2,500 to 3,000. So what's going on right now is we have a population boom of over 50% in Precinct 7, and we have not been able to
Thank you. Your time is up.
so your basic point is all constables are not equal. Is that the gist of it?
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Well, and yes, Constable.
And I can add, each year the constables send back millions and millions of dollars to the county coffers. And those funds, we calculate the amount of money sent back from the constable's office, all 8 constables' offices, tabulate to about $5 to $6 million. That could probably cover the raises that help with the raises that people are so much against.
Thank you. And Constable, it's not that we're against. It's necessary. It just all of our decisions need to be thoughtfully looked at and made in a financially responsible way, and it is possible to do both. When you talk about this $5 million, are you talking about the constable, the contract program, or what are you talking about?
No, ma'am. Each year the constable sent back funds. Our tabulation of this year,
it's the year
the constable sent back $5.6 million.
I see. Okay, but that's in the budget, yeah?
We let you go.
That's already in there, Constable, but I hear you, and I think part of what you're showing is that in budget hearings, we focused on what's going to happen once the departments see the cuts, but we did not talk about what they need. And you're here talking about what you need, and same with the judges. So that's why, this false choice right now between the county's financial stability and essential services, especially problematic because not only do we need the same as last year, there are some federal funds expanding, and there are long existing issues like you have. So I think it's great that you're here. I think we ought to consider all the needs and figure out how to do it as opposed to committing to something that we know keeps us from addressing current needs and cut services. But Director Ramos will be there to chat as well.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Constable. All right, so it's 1:13. We can take our lunch break now. Does that work? All right, 1:14. We will break until 2.
We probably wouldn't be working.
Exactly.
Okay, we'll get ready to start the meeting. It's 2:12, and this special meeting of Commissioners Court is back in session. And so we are going to start. Well, first I wanted to just offer up to my colleagues, as I mentioned, these cuts are not inevitable, and I think that we need to negotiate on cutting expenses before negotiating cutting services. So my staff stands ready to negotiate. We'll chat with budget office staff, and they'll be reaching out to your offices to try to negotiate this huge deficit down. Because obviously, if we're negotiating cuts, we're just robbing Peter to pay Paul. It's not really a valid negotiation. So I hope that you will take me up on negotiating, reducing that, whether it's going to the voters next year, since we already missed the deadline to go this year, or only committing to cut services for 50 million worth of services instead of 100, 25 instead of 100, and putting the rest to the voters next year. So I'm mentioning this now so that when we get to it, our staffs have had time to discuss. And let's move on. Yes.
I'm in the queue. I want to go and make a motion that Commissioners Court adopt the run of show for today's budget discussions as outlined by the Office of Management and Budget yesterday, September the 8th.
Second.
How do I know if that's the one I have?
I'm sorry, Judge.
So here's what I have, colleagues, and you tell me if this is what you want. So I have setting the tax rate for the port, then setting the tax rate and budget for the flood control district, then Harris Health tax rate and budget, then a county general fund, and then I guess whatever is left.
Mr. Ramos, is that the run of show that you laid out yesterday?
Oh, I mean, it's neither here nor there, yeah.
Oh, sorry. So ours, I think, differ slightly. It would be, we've done speakers, going to the port, closing out the flood control budget and tax rate, and then we had proposed doing the general fund offsets, and as well as doing HHS's budget and tax rate, because I believe there's going to be some overlap between offsets and their rate, and then doing new spending or new budget amendments.
So can I get that listed out, because I'm not sure I'm catching it. But obviously, when we use the word offsets, what we mean is taking Peter to pay Paul. Offsets are cuts from one department to give to another department. There is no real negotiation here. When we talk about budget amendments, that's a shopping list. That's going shopping. And so I think what my colleague here is offering up is that we take from Peter to pay Paul first, and then we go back and figure out what our shopping list is going to be. But that still has a, yeah.
Judge, Mr. Ramos, what's the difference in what you are proposing and what the judge is proposing?
Based on what I saw last night / this morning, it would essentially be just swapping, doing the budget amendments, so the spending first and then the cuts secondary. The only reason we recommend the opposite is, I think it would be fine for folks to lay out or commissioners to lay out their budget amendments, but I would not take action on them until we have a final tally of what the available resources are going to be.
Well, just if I might.
Yes, Commissioner Ellis and then Commissioner Briones. And I have you on the list, Commissioner Garcia, but you've gone once already.
I don't really see that much of a difference. We all know that this is somewhat of a deviation from the norm. I mean, that's a given. But I would say even if we have a disagreement on where we're going to end up, I don't think it's worth having a big argument over how we finish the day. I just like to finish it. So for my colleagues, and I'm not trying to, be argumentative, but I don't think it's that big of a difference. We know the budget. We know budget's going to have to pass. A lot of these discussions we're going to have today, we had before, and we're going to have them again when it's time to adopt it. And if there's some efficiencies that we can all work on for this meeting, I know Dr. Porce is here as an example. Would you have him come after the general fund budget?
No, I think that because there's overlap.
Port, you do him? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I would do port and flood control just because I think that those are standalone. There's not going to be a ton of a discussion.
And then the Harris Center, since we got to set that right. Is that what you do third? I just didn't hear that.
Yes.
That's what you.
Harris Health, correct.
And then get to our budget.
Correct.
Okay, I didn't hear that part on yours. But I just hope we don't, let's just not, I would suggest, let's not get caught up in the semantics of how we do it. We know we got to do it.
I think there's going to be a lot of overlap between, what the amendments are and what the offsets are going to be. But I do think taking the port and flood control up front would just be helpful to get those out of the way.
Yeah, I agree.
So I seconded the motion because I do favor the OMB recommended process, which is the same process we've used the last 3 years, because then that gives us a clear idea of what we have to invest, and then we can allocate it based on the priorities of the majority of court. So that's why I seconded, because this is the same process, and it just makes logical sense. So in sum, I second.
So there's a motion and a second to follow. I still need the details of what it is that they're proposing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 3-2. So can you guys write this up for me?
Sure, and I just sent it again
Okay,
to your staff.
So while they do that, I know that we gave the press this, it is without precedent. In other words, we did not do this last year or any year, and our predecessors didn't do it either, to create a $200 million deficit without knowing how we would pay for that. And as I said, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors, so we have now handed the press a clarification as to what these words mean. When you say vacancy control and smart staffing, obviously that already sounds like double speak, and so we explained what this is. And the various pieces. So folks should have this document, and it makes clear again that these are cuts. And so for that reason, I would like to negotiate with my colleagues so that we don't have to cut these basic services for people, and we do what the voters would like to see by asking them what they would like to see.
Judge, just to get clarity on the last motion, it was a 3-2 vote. You voted no, and
Commissioner Ellis voted no.
Thank you.
Okay, and I do think it's a false choice, pitting raises against essential services and the county's financial stability, because we would be sacrificing our financial future and services that we have, but our children will not have. Libraries, public health, you name it. Air monitoring. We got here 3 years ago we increased air monitoring after the ITC fire, and now we're looking to cut it. We fought because our colleagues created a budget that was insufficient in 2022, but this is the worst budget probably Harris County has seen, period. Not even including the financial crisis. So we still have a chance to fix this. Please negotiate with me, negotiate with the public, negotiate with the public before you take from them. Don't destroy the county's financial future. I'm waiting on the paper.
So, Judge, if it's helpful, I can make the motion on the port, because
Sure.
that's the simplest one.
Sure.
And the clerk folks I think you guys have a copy of this. You good? So it'd be motion to set a public hearing on September 18, 2025 at 10 a.m. to consider the Port of Houston Authority, the proposed 2025 tax rate of $100 of taxable value of 0.00590 for debt service, and to direct the Office of Management and Budget, the tax assessor collector, and other relevant departments to execute and publish all related notices as required by applicable law.
So move.
That's a motion. Is there a second? Second motion by Commissioner Garcia, second by Commissioner Briones. All in favor?
Aye.
Actually, Commissioner Garcia, you're listed for discussion. Did you have anything to add?
I just wanted to begin first by saying thank you to Mr. Ramos and your team, and to the collective precinct offices for working on this budget. There's a lot of hard work, and I appreciate the regular updates I was getting to help make decisions and help guide the process. It was true teamwork on behalf of everybody involved, and so most importantly, no resident is facing programs that are being cut. The public will continue to see the same level of service from their county government. And out of nearly 20,000 employees, the budget results in the possibility, and I say possibility, of impacting 8 positions. And I say possibility because there's already work to find new places for those respective employees to continue their work in the county. And so this is just an indication of all the good work that my team and collective offices work together on, being very collaborative, being very negotiating, because not everybody got what everybody wanted. But I think overall, we are at a good place to continue the good work that the county does. So with that, I move on the motion of the port.
So that was a motion. There was a second. Again, facts are friendly. The numbers here explain the cuts in the proposed budget by Commissioner Briones and Garcia. There will be cuts. In addition, we are paying for recurring costs with $64 million in one-time payments, and we're facing a cliff of our own making. I ask that my colleagues work with me,
Point of order.
and negotiate.
A motion been made.
Are we on the port right now?
Yes,
actually.
Right. So I'm just responding to Commissioner Garcia's discussion that was not about the port, to clarify for the community what the facts are, and to ask, I do not feel that I was involved in the teamwork, Commissioner. That was the unilateral decision by you all to not go to the voters.
Your choice.
We still have a chance here to not commit us to this crisis of our own making. We do not have to be cutting. And
Point of order.
Yes,
There's a motion,
there are
a second.
cuts.
We have discussion. I'll call for the question on the item.
Judge, question's been
Yes.
called.
All right. So then, when he was speaking about something other than the port, that was okay.
It was not okay.
Okay.
It just point needs to be made to me, and I can correct him. But the
Great.
commissioner
Thank you.
is correct at the point.
All right.
call question.
Okay. So all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And Director Ramos, is it a good practice to pay for one-time expenses, for recurring expenses with tens of millions of dollars of one-time funding? Is it a best practice?
As a best practice, no, though I will note that there are generally in every budget some amount of one-time funds. For example, last year there were 2 large settlements that the county attorney helped negotiate with Volkswagen and Purdue Pharma, which helped balance our budget. So we wouldn't want to make a habit of this, but when we do have opportunities to have one-time funding, we should be strategic about it.
Right, but we're now creating expenses with the expectation of one-time funding. Is it best practice to bring up a $100 million expense without having a way to pay for it? Is that something you've done before in a previous county? Unforced, just a decision, proactive decision to create $100 million, $200 million in expenses without a clear idea of how to pay for it.
It certainly makes my job harder, but in other jurisdictions, especially ones with collective bargaining, you typically are working around contractual COLAs that were built in, years in advance. So,
but this is not that. Like I said, a manufactured issue. That's not manufactured. Those are agreements, just as the settlements are. I understand you're trying to thread the needle here, but the point is, this is not normal.
Point of order, Judge.
Yes, Commissioner, point of order about what?
Point of order that we're not following the previously voted on run of show. So we should be discussing.
Point of order that he's not talking about
we should be
the items here.
And voting on
point of order?
The flood control tax rate and budget.
Point of order, Commissioner. Point of order.
So, I believe both run of shows that were sent out, we would move now on to the the flood control, both the budget and tax rate. I'm happy to make the motion, but I assume that there might be some questions for Dr. Peterson.
I'll make the motion.
And I'll second it. Judge, if I
Okay, so yes, go ahead, Commissioner Ellis, and then Commissioner Ramsey.
So just to understand the process, I know we're all in a hurry to get to the county tax rate, but so we did the port, now we do flood control, then what we'll do, what I still call hospital district, I'm sorry, Dr. Ports, we'll do Harris Health.
That I would recommend moving to Harris Health, at least the Harris Health tax rate.
Yes, the
And
tax
then
rate.
I would take the budget and the budget amendments together because I think there's going to be some overlap.
Yeah. Okay, so we should get to the broader discussion. I know we all chomping at the bit to get there. I get it. It's an important subject, and so sets the tone for everything we'll do over the next year. But first, we ought to knock out flood control.
That's
And
correct.
this gives us time to negotiate, hopefully, so that we're not unilaterally creating this deficit.
So with that, I turn it over to Dr. Peterson.
All right. So what I have here as far as the motion is to set a public hearing on September 18th, 2025 at 10 a.m. to consider for Harris County Flood Control District the proposed 2025 tax rates per $100 of taxable value of up to 0.03826 for maintenance and operations and 0.0114 for debt service for a total tax rate of up to 0.04966, which is the voter approval rate, and to direct the Office of Management and Budget, the tax assessor collector, and other relevant departments to execute and publish all related notices as required by applicable law.
So moved.
Second.
Do we need to make the budget vote as well? Should we vote on this first?
You can take them separately or
Okay,
together.
so
whatever.
motion by Commissioner Garcia, second by Commissioner Ellis. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Now on budget, there's a motion to set a public hearing on September 18th, 2025 at 10 a.m. to consider for Harris County Flood Control District the proposed fiscal year 2026 budget as amended and to direct the Office of Management and Budget, OCA, and all the relevant departments to execute and publish all related notices and direct the Office of Management and Budget to file the Harris County Flood Control District proposed FY 2026 budget as amended with the county clerk and county auditor. Is there a motion for that?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Briones, second by Commissioner Ramsey. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Right, so that is on the Flood Control District. So now we move on to Harris Health, correct?
That's correct. I would recommend taking their tax rate. And then if there's
And then
a
moving back to offsets and savings, which was your proposed run of show?
correct, and along with those offsets would be the Harris Health budget, as that we were directed by. I don't know, Dr. Ports, if you want to come join me, we were directed by court to identify potential county expenses that could be moved over to the hospital district. I want to thank Dr. Porsa. Your partnership this year. I think this is the closest we've ever, been to being in lockstep. But we were able, along with Director Barton, to identify roughly $4 million worth of costs that could be eligible to be transferred.
And again, offsets here is double speak for taking from Peter to pay Paul. I would ask Dr. Porsa to cover whether he has revenue that he does not have use for, no matter the tax rate that we find. So this would be taking from the Harris County Hospital District that everybody depends on and to fill a gap in the public health department that's created by this unilateral decision I'm still hoping to negotiate with my colleagues. But I just want to clarify the double speak. I think if we felt comfortable with what's happening, we would call these things what it is, cuts, unnecessary. Yes, Commissioner Ellis, then Commissioner Garcia, then Commissioner Ramsey.
So if I might, just to speed us up a bit, from my discussion with Dr. Porsa, if we go with the voter approved rate, you feel comfortable with picking up $4 million in expenses that the county health department would have to carry.
That is correct.
If you can come up with some more, we'd appreciate it. But now, if we go with the no new revenue rate, you're going to lose about $250 million, $240 million. And if you're losing $240 million, you'd be hard pressed to come up with to take it to 243.
That would be impossible.
Okay. So, Judge, just to make the point. So on this, once this is done, so the issue is there's some conflict in his mind. I'm just trying to speed us up. I'm not being rude to anyone. But if we go with the voter approved rate, you feel comfortable you can still deliver the quality of services that is expected, knowing that we got a massive new facility coming online and a host of other issues. But if we go with the voter approved rate.
Yes, sir, that is correct. And to be exact, and Mr. Ramos, thank you. Thank you for acknowledging the partnership. I appreciate your partnership as well.
Yeah.
The voter approved rate, as we presented to the commissioners a couple of weeks ago, would give us a margin of about 1.9%, which is about $54 million.
Okay.
And to answer your question, absolutely, yes. I feel comfortable that we'll be able to attribute up to $4 million for the cuts that the health department would otherwise had to
So colleagues, for what it's worth, I'm just skipping the appetizers so we can get to the entree. Everybody's chomping at the bit. So at the appropriate time, I or anyone else hopefully can make the motion for the voter approval rate. And then we can get to the main course that everybody's chomping to get to.
Thank you, Dr. Porsa. Commissioner Garcia, followed by Commissioner Ramsey and Commissioner Reyes.
I've got a series of questions. Jay or Daniel, if we do notice the VAR rate at this meeting, are we still able to adopt a lower rate?
Yes.
Okay. And conversely, if we notice a lower rate today, do we lose the ability to move up to the VAR later?
That's correct.
Okay. At the VAR level, Dr. Porsa, it shows that you would have a modest margin of about approximately 58 million on the positive side. How much of that margin is dependent on assumptions about supplemental Medicaid and DSH payments that may not materialize?
All of it.
And then what is Harris Health's current reserve?
Again, by reserve, Commissioner, I want to be very clear. If we're talking about a cash days on hand.
Reserve.
There is no reserve.
There's no reserve. So what do you have as, that you're holding, cash that you're holding?
Days cash on hand. I want to get an exact number.
Unencumbered. There you go. Unencumbered cash.
Commissioner, days cash on hand is calculated at the end of the fiscal period. So the calculation that we have officially entered is 231 days. For comparison, our peer facilities, like in Bexar County, have 332 days.
How much does Harris Health have?
231 days.
I'd need a cash number.
It's about 1.4 billion.
1.4 billion unencumbered. And so given the size of your operating budget and the recently passed $2.5 billion bond program, can you tell us if the system is fully maximizing the potential of capitalization as we've done here in the county?
I believe we have, Commissioner. This has been part of our ongoing effort, but especially since we took on the bond proposal, we committed ourselves to maximizing exactly what you just said.
How much are you capitalizing?
We're capitalizing to the extent of our credit capacity, which is calculated currently at $2.5 billion. So we just took on additional 840. So we're over $1 billion just on that part of the debt.
$1 billion?
Over $1 billion.
$1 billion over $1 billion capitalized?
That's on the debt. And we're going to be fully capitalized in the next couple of years.
Daniel, I'm not sure whether we're saying the same thing.
Wait, yes, if I could help clarify.
Thank you.
So they have, for the essentially the first time in modern Harris Health history, gone and done a bond, and so a lot of things that they maybe have used cash for are being whole renovated. Dr. Parmser, correct me if I'm wrong at any point. Whole renovations or build outs of their clinics, both hospitals, the building of a new facility. they have not as of yet done what we have done, which is look at, routine maintenance like what we're doing in this year's budget, moving those to commercial paper. I believe what Dr. Porsa and Victoria are trying to get at is when they did the bond program and they looked at their debt capacity, it said roughly $2.5 billion. So we would risk a downgrade if we just continue to pile on additional debt. But there is like some amount of the routine maintenance which they've used cash for that could potentially go, but there are downstream effects.
So yesterday you told me that they weren't capitalizing much at all. So
yeah, correct. There is no commercial paper program related to the normal maintenance. What they're talking about capitalizing is what they're using their bond for.
Gotcha. And is there still opportunity for capitalization as you understand their budget?
Yes, and we're redoing the analysis that we did. This question came up last year. We are asking our financial advisor as well as Harris Health to redo the analysis. We do think that there's some capacity, but again, there is some risk of a downgrade. In some ways, Finch downgrading the system created, if we're comfortable with maintaining that level and not fighting to get back to the higher one, those ratios get a lot better for us for the next year. But we can have all that analysis done relatively quickly, Commissioner, in advance of the 18th.
And to that point, do you, can you speak to what is the possibility of us returning to a AA rating from the negative AA?
As we discussed, Commissioner, I think that the downgrade was premature by the credit rating agency. We did not ask this company to do an additional one. I think that they're pre-penalizing the entire hospital system based on national news. So it had very little to do with what Harris Health is doing. We did the work to figure out how much debt we could take on and maintain our current credit rating. But yeah, there is some risk, but we can come back with what our financial advisors say is the potential capacity for a commercial paper program.
And Dr. Porsa, what's the minimum positive margin that the system needs to sustain operations and implement its strategic plan?
Commissioner, if I get to your question, but before I do that, I wanted to commit what Mr. Ramos just said, that we did this study that you just mentioned about taking on more debt last year, and yesterday my conversation with Mr. Ramos committed to taking on that study again to have an accurate answer for your question. But to get to your question, Commissioner, what we proposed and was approved by our board, the 1.9% margin is what we believe is crucial for us to couple of things. One, continue to enjoy the credit rating that we have, but also for us to be able to take on the strategic plans that we have put in motion as far as the expansions of some of our services and creation of some new services. So to answer your question, what we have presented is what we truly, honestly believe is what we need to be successful.
And are you willing to help develop some metrics, some performance measures, if you will, if we were to adopt the VAR, and similarly, if regardless of whatever rate we adopt, whether it be the flat rate or a different rate, or the VAR specifically, if you would adopt performance measures that we could work with Daniel to implement with you.
Absolutely, I welcome that.
And as if your fiscal year ends in 2026 with and you're always careful not to say that you have a surplus. You always say you have cash, unencumbered cash, which is part of your cash flow. We see it as surplus. And so with a surplus larger than projected, then what are the mechanisms in place to ensure that the excess is returned or redeployed in a transparent way?
So, Commissioner, let me answer your question this way. As you just heard from Victoria, our cash days on hand, what you refer to as reserve, which again, I respectfully disagree with that terminology, is actually subpar compared to other organizations in this state that are under the same situations, number one. And number two, when we have a margin, so let's say you asked the question about next year. Let's say we finish the year actually with a $54 million or $58 million margin. That money is not put into a piggy bank. That money is rolled into our operations for the following year. So we use whatever margin we have into investing in our capital, but also expanding our operations, because the needs, as I mentioned last time I was here, the needs for our services is continuing to grow, Commissioner. It's not reducing.
Yeah,
So,
of course, and it's going to be growing more so with the changes at the federal level.
well, absolutely.
And so, but I'm looking forward to those performance measures on the VAR and on the flat rate in particular. And then we'll discuss at the next meeting if there is a different rate that we're going to consider. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ramsey.
Dr. Portia, good to see you and your
Yes,
team.
sir. Likewise.
You brought the whole team today.
Yes, sir.
I do want to thank each one of them. Y'all are working through a lot of details. Appreciate you working with our office on options. I think we're all looking for ways that we can get health care help in the right up front and center as quickly as possible. We're even looking at maybe not doing as much capital investment. Maybe we can partner with some nonprofits that are already out there. So the flexibility that your team is exhibiting, I appreciate.
I appreciate
Much
you.
like I echo Mr. Ramos's comments. I would say, having worked for 50 cities and 20 counties in Texas, typically a public entity, they have roughly 160 days, and you're roughly 231. And I know that our revenue, our tax revenue to you, 1.2 billion, it's a third of your revenue stream. Is that right?
That's about right. Yes, sir.
I don't know that other hospital districts have a similar situation where the revenue stream, and we've not had this conversation, but where the revenue stream of the property tax is 1/3 of the revenue stream. Is that typical?
I don't know if it's typical, Commissioner, but it is less. It is less, but the conditions of other municipalities are also different. As you know, Commissioner, we unfortunately have the disadvantage of having the highest rate of uninsured in the country, not just in the state of Texas. So that necessitates, by definition, that we provide much more indigent care, uninsured care than other hospital municipalities. And that's why that number is much bigger.
And again, we're trying to balance a lot of needs.
Yes, sir.
As we go through the budget. This isn't a process where we're going to quit doing one thing and start doing another. We're trying to balance the needs of the whole county. Just for the record, you'll probably hear me say this again. The tax that we're proposing, the tax that we're going to talk about today, the tax we're going to vote on today, the revenue from that tax, we talk about a tax rate, but a tax rate has to be calculated based on appraisals.
Yes, sir.
And the tax revenue that we're talking about today, voting on, is $4.1 billion. Hospital district is roughly 1.2 billion of that. So I take 4.1 billion pretty seriously. Probably besides the comments I get from folks more times than not, public safety is their number one concern. They very clearly describe what that is. But their number two concern is taxes and their high taxes that they're having to pay. So when I tell them, well, don't worry, we'll be paying 4.1 billion this year in total taxes. That's tax revenue into Harris County. That's $750 million more dollars than we were receiving in 2019. So this conversation around we're going broke, it's horrible, things are really bad. We got $4.1 billion coming in. We just got to exercise great discernment on how we spend the dollars. So it looks like to me this year, and I appreciate you working with Mr. Ramos on our health department and our needs, and Leah, in working through those details. But the increased revenue to the hospital district based on the tax rates we're going to vote on is $140 million. That's much more than the county. That's twice as much as the county. County's $70 million, our general fund. So the largest increment of dollars that are going to be approved in the next couple of 3 weeks is going to be to the hospital district. So that $140 million that goes to the district, and recognizing we do have $1.4 billion in whatever category you want to call it, 231 days is a healthy balance, and maybe you wish it was more.
I do.
But there's risk involved. We all wish we had more, but I'm just saying from a public agency standpoint, those are the dollars. So I'm concerned about the rate. I'm concerned about the 15% tax increase we did last year based on the disasters, and very little of that money went toward disasters. So we did a huge tax increase last year. So this year may be time to balance things up in terms of we took probably more than we should have last year. And this year may be an opportunity to balance that up a bit. So I guess I do have a problem with taking that much of an increase, $140 million in 1 year, which is the no new revenue. I agree that it's legal. I just don't think we can afford it.
Well, thank you, Commissioner. If I may just make a couple of comments. One, considering the fact that 3 out of 4 people who voted November of 2023 to support our bond proposal, I would assume that healthcare is also a high priority for the residents of Harris County. To your other point about the $140 million additional revenue for the hospital district for Harris Health, I just want to remind the court again that about a year ago when I was here, we were having this conversation, and we were asked to take on the additional $100 million cost of correctional health care. This was part of that agreement, that when the time comes for our tax rate, the tax rate would reflect that support for the correctional health. I just wanted to remind the court of that.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Briones.
Dr. Porsa, thank you and your team for everything you do. I know there's a tremendous need, and the need continues to grow, and healthcare is one of my top priorities. So I have several questions for you, but just to level set in terms of facts, and then I would like to talk about federal cuts, current and potential, as well as the jail medical and the impact that's having. But
Yes,
just to level set, to make sure we're all talking about the same facts, $1.4 billion cash on hand, correct, is the current fact?
That is correct.
Okay. And then based on the numbers we have, we're projected to end at a 5% surplus of $138 million, which would then roll into the capital for next year, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And so talking about potentially $4 million when we have $1.4 billion of cash on hand, that's a small portion of the totality. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay. And I'd like to hear the plans that Director Barton and you have discussed for the $4 million to partner and find these synergies with public health. But to focus on, given that we have the highest rate of uninsured and we know the need anywhere, and I'm committed to healthcare here, and I'm proud that we're one of the largest safety net providers in the country. So can you talk to us about current federal cuts and then ones that you anticipate this coming year and how this budget reflects it, please?
Sure. And I think, thank you for asking that question, and thank you for acknowledging the work that my team has done in partnership with OMB, Office of Management and Budget. To answer your question, Commissioner, as I mentioned a couple of weeks ago when I was here, several things. One, I think everybody knows about the $1 billion cut to Medicaid, but people don't put that in perspective. I was actually having this conversation earlier today. One thing that people, I think, are aware of is the overall restriction in enrolling in Medicaid. The state of Texas, unfortunately, has one of the most stringent Medicaid eligibility laws in the country. What has changed, one of the things that is making it even more difficult is that the duration of the eligibility, instead of a year, 12 months, is now reverting back to 6 months, making it much more difficult and onerous on people to continue to apply for Medicaid. What is not being discussed, which I think is as important, if not more important, is that health systems, for as long as I know, have had the ability to retroactively charge Medicaid for those who are eligible up to 90 days. So somebody comes to us who's currently not on Medicaid, we do our eligibility process, they are eligible for Medicaid, we enroll them, we can actually charge for those services up to 90 days prior. That has now changed to 30 days. What is really important and interesting is that the average length of time for Medicaid eligibility process to complete is 45 days. So basically, health systems are not going to any longer be able to retroactively charge Medicaid. So that's the loss of revenue, the impact of which remains to be seen. In addition to that, that's on the Medicaid side. There is what I call the disproportionate share hospital cuts. That's another $850 million for the entire country. It's about $80 million. No.
That's $800 million
For Texas, sorry. Yes, yes, thank you. $800 million for the state of Texas that is going to be upon us on October 1 unless Congress acts, which it doesn't seem to be happening. What is even more important than that, when you consider a couple of weeks ago when I was here, I didn't have this information, the job market seems to be cooling off. So now we're going to have more people without job, without health insurance. But what is even more significant is the fact that by the end of this year, the preferred tax benefits for those who have access to health insurance through Affordable Care Act is going to end. So the cost of accessing health insurance is going to more than double for individuals, up to 4 times what it is. What that means for individuals in the state of Texas, if I'm not mistaken, 4 million people in the state of Texas have access to health insurance through Affordable Care Act, is that many of them are going to lose access to health insurance. When you put all of those things together is what I refer to, that the need for our services, not just in the fact of the population growth, not just by the fact that we have the highest number and rate of uninsured, is that we actually anticipate to have higher number of uninsured than people with less access to health insurance. So it is a reality that people are going to need our services even more than they had in the past. I can't put a number on that, but I can tell you that it's going to be significant.
So I share your concern and anticipation of the impact of the federal cuts. To go to one of the earlier questions of my colleague, again, just to level set and be crystal clear. So your ask of the court is for the VAR, correct?
That is correct.
And you're saying that if we vote for the VAR, that would allow you to continue the work you're doing and anticipate for these contingencies and grow strategically based on the strategic plan you have, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So you will continue to successfully deliver healthcare for our most vulnerable with the VAR, correct?
Yes.
I'm highly supportive of the VAR, just to further level set. But
I very much appreciate hearing that.
No, very much. No, this is one of the most
Thank you.
top priorities. But my other question, just so for the voters to understand, so we went to the voters for the Harris Health Bond. Could you please talk about how the bond that was successfully passed, we had great support in the community, how that intersects with this year's tax rate, please?
How does that intersect with this year's tax rate? So I guess some of the tax rate, the totality, and I'm going to need Mr. Ramos's input on this. We have had for ever, since this is the first time we have actually went for a bond proposal and successfully passed it, and now had received $840 million. We have had majority of our tax rate simply on management and operations. However, now we have a debt services tax rate. And our totality of tax rate is a combination of the two. And Daniel, I'm not sure what the
split. Yeah,
57 million, but I'm not sure what the tax rate contribution of that is.
At the VAR, they're at 1.158 billion. Of that, only about 55 is debt service.
Did I answer your question?
It did.
Okay.
Thank you. And I know you're making market progress. I know you're doing town halls in each of our precincts, and so we can communicate back to the community the progress we're making on the bond work. And I'm so energized, and I thank you. Lastly, you touched on it briefly, but can you please speak to us, before Harris Health was doing the jail medical on a contractor basis, then you brought it in-house full 100% to Harris Health. Thank you for doing that so that we could improve the level of care provided in the jail. Can you please speak to us of a few key improvements and how that is enveloped into this budget?
Be happy to. As you know, this is one of my passions. So you're right. A few years ago, the commissioners asked Harris Health to study the feasibility of taking on the correctional healthcare inside the Harris County Jail. We did, and I agree with you completely. It just makes perfect sense. Majority of these patients are our patients when they step out of the jail. As one of the going down the lane of the improvements, one of the first things that we did was extend our episode of electronic health record, EPIC, into the Harris County Jail. So now when people come to our hospitals, we don't need to ask for the release of information. We can actually have access to the records. When they go back to the jail, the doctors, practitioners at the jail don't need to wait for the release of information. They actually have access to what has happened to those individuals in the hospitals. That's number one. One of the other things that we did, even though previous to EPIC, jail had a different version of an electronic health record, their pharmacy system was completely paper-based. So we have made that electronic. So now all the prescriptions are done electronically. We actually now fill the prescriptions inside the jail, also electronically using a machine. And the volume of the medications, if I'm not mistaken, at the Harris County Jail is larger than the volume of all of our hospitals. So we actually dispense more medications inside the jail than we do at our hospitals, which is truly amazing. In addition to that, we created an on-site CT scan. So I don't know how to say this. Let me say it this way. Currently, the detainees at the Harris County Jail have ample access to diagnostic imaging, which is wonderful. We have started doing mammography inside the jail. I think, Commissioner, you may remember that one of the things I brought with me from Dallas was that we found that the most number of female patients showing up to Parkland Hospital, their county hospital, with late-stage breast cancer had history of incarceration. So we are going to the jail and identifying people at high risk who are eligible for mammography. We're performing those. We have extended the laboratory services inside the jail. Now everybody who gets a lab order from a physician, within 3 days, they actually get their labs drawn. In addition to that, we have created clinics, and I want to thank Sheriff Gonzalez for working with us to allow this to happen. We have created clinics on every floor of the jail, which really reduces the stress on the sheriff's department from having to escort patients down to the clinic because they can just walk to the clinic on the floor. Those are some of the examples of the improvements, and I think I mentioned last time that when I met Sheriff Gonzalez in Austin, we talked about two things: expansion of our prenatal care inside the jail, including having a dietitian prescribing diets for our pregnant detainees at the jail, but also expansion of medication-assisted treatment. Sheriff is very passionate about it. I am very passionate about it. We currently have more than 100 people on medication-assisted treatment. We believe that we can actually expand it to about 500 people inside the Harris County Jail.
The progress you're driving is remarkable. Thank you, Dr. Porson. Thank you to Sheriff Gonzalez. So in sum, the voter-approved rate is what you're asking of the court.
Yes, ma'am.
And that will encompass jail medical plus LBJ, Bentab, community clinics, not only current level, but additionally the new strategic initiatives you want to achieve. Is that correct?
Exactly. That is correct.
Okay. And the $4 million that you're open to collaborating. And I don't mean to minimize $4 million, but $4 million in the totality is, again, emphasize a small point. But you are willing to find synergies and work with Director Barton on this, correct?
Yes, I don't have the specifics, but I know that and actually spoke to Director Barton on Saturday in our Walk and Learn at the LBJ campus. Some of the big ticket items that just make sense for us to support is vaccination, again, maternal care, and thank you, chronic care, chronic disease management.
Thank you. Thank you for finding those opportunities for collaboration, and thank you for having the telemedicine site at one of our community centers. Again, the more we can collaborate, I just so appreciate your open spirit, Dr. Porsa, and everything you and your team do to advance health for the most
Thank you.
vulnerable.
And we want to do more of that telehealth, Commissioner, and
I love
for
it.
all commissioners.
I love it. Thank you, Dr. Porsa.
Okay, Dr. Porsa, just circling back on some of the questions I asked you at the budget hearing.
Yes.
So one of the questions I asked you was, why don't we set a tax rate where you break even? Why do we go to the VAR, which you end up with this 52 million? And you said, well, we anticipate cuts at our hospitals, more uninsured people, and cuts to Medicaid. And then your staff here mentioned that the estimate of the costs you are going to have that are not in your budget is between $60 and $70 million at the low end. So anyway, I just want to make sure that I got that straight. And if you wouldn't mind repeating sort of whatever of that I missed or clarifying.
So not at all, Judge. Thank you for asking that question. And again, like I said previously, potential low end of the impact on Harris Health is around that range, $60 to $70 million. Again, that's the potential. To get back to your earlier questions, the why is it that we need a margin of about $54 million, which is the maximum that we can ask for under a VAR, is to allow us to safely perform our operations, knowing
between public health services and hospital districts.
So just to be clear, Director Barton, to create optionality so that we can maximize the opportunity of the 4 million and whatever number that may be, and it has to be forward facing. So vaccinations, right? Direct medical services that would constitute for the Charity Care Fund. Could it be, since I know you also have bold visions for enhancement, would it create more optionality? And later we'll get to restorations as well. But motion for public health to work with Office OMB Management and Budget to transfer 4 million of eligible expenses to Harris Health. This transfer of costs would be used to restore the Harris County Public Health offsets and or fund enhancements at the discretion of the Harris County Public Health Director and OMB in the currently proposed FY26 budget.
That's acceptable, yeah.
Because then it gives you the both and optionality to expand things you've been wanting to do, right? And off.
Yeah.
So Daniel,
primarily sustain. Yeah, not a lot of expansion, but sustain, yes.
So that would be my friendly amendment, just to create.
I support it.
So I just want to make sure, Daniel, and Dr. Force, I want you to hear this. I know I've had a little experience with budgets and writing them on the fly. And then you get these unintended consequences, and then everybody gets amnesia. So I just want to know, will this $4 million transfer trying to make up for cuts that we put in, is this going to costing 5.2 from somewhere next year? I want to make sure I know what, at least I want to at least try to find out what.
Is it one-time funding? I had the same question.
So Commissioner, if I might, and Dr. Porter, correct me if I'm wrong, we would not submit $4 million toward charity care, which would likely be reimbursed about 1.2. That being said, the hospital district can add every dollar that they are not compensated for care to their tax rate.
Yeah.
So it does create space in future years because it would add to their uncompensated care line.
Yeah, it's not much money, but Dr. Force, I want you to come up too. I just want to make sure, because I tell you what, I might forget, but I'll have somebody who will remind me when this comes up again.
You're correct, Commissioner, in your estimation.
Okay.
And I just want to be clear again that I have been working with Director Barton, and I'm committing here at the court that we will continue to work with Director Barton to make sure that that $4 million goes towards whatever compensation, cuts, whatever, enhancements that Director Barton sees fit.
If I could get a clarification quickly, you brought up the charity care, Commissioner, thank you. Does this preclude you from asking for more charity care? Should you do it?
We will continue to seek charity care reimbursement. We just wouldn't be able to seek it for these $4 million worth of expenses.
Okay, got it.
So just to clarify, in terms of going forward, so this same agreement you could have in fiscal year 27, 28, and so on and so forth. Is this a one-time funding, or is this in perpetuity?
As of right now, this is a one-year funding.
Okay. So just want to make clear that this seems to be another sort of patching up a hole. But even if it were in perpetuity, we're doing this math here, and my staff is gonna update this for the public as we go on. So if you look at this board, what they've put on there is that even with this exchange of funds, taking away from the public hospital to give to public health is still looking at $1.7 million in cuts. And so, Director Barton, if you could give some specificity to what are the kinds of programs or what are you going to have to cut with that $1.7 million in cuts?
So, without referring to specific amounts, in general, in order to have some of those ARPA-funded programs continue through September, right? We have a number, maternal and child health, chronic disease, wastewater surveillance, that are scheduled to end in June. We would choose to continue those, and then we would keep some of our offsets for things that are currently covering some administrative services internal to our department. We would find efficiencies in HR, finance, planning, my office, as well as taking some offsets that really don't have any impact, like moving roles into special revenue and environmental public health, like right-sizing budgets that have historically had surpluses. So we would restore the resident-facing portion of our offsets, but we would have some internal administrative impact.
And presumably the administrative system is there for a reason. So what does this administrative structure do that ultimately supports the residents?
Strategic planning, supporting financial controls, supporting, we have an intern within my office, so those types of roles, HR recruiting, and so that just means that our administrative teams will need to work a little harder, but we're prepared to do that.
And of course, you're still subject to the hiring freeze.
I haven't seen public health listed as an exception.
Okay, and then in terms of, you mentioned shifting something to another expense bucket. Is that something that can be done in perpetuity, or is that just done this year?
That would be our environmental public health special revenue fund, which comes from food inspection, pool inspection, and those do continue.
So what exactly would happen to the pool inspection and the food inspection? I'm just trying to understand.
We have enough revenue there to support FTEs that were previously in the general fund.
Okay, and you're going to be able to continue that in perpetuity. Okay, so what I'm hearing is that you are going to cut positions that normally do financial control, HR, et cetera. You could say you're not cutting outside programs, but of course you need systems to maintain the outside programs. And then, I guess my question is, if you could have this money back, do you need it, or are you saying, you know what, I've been operating with an extra 1.7 million that I didn't actually need?
If we had additional money, we would put it to use for those resident-facing programs. We would continue to invest in more maternal and child health, more chronic disease, more neighborhood nuisance abatement. We would still try and seek these internal efficiencies.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Commissioner Ellis and Commissioner Garcia.
Look, I think I'm comfortable with it. I think that we'll get to the broader issue when we get to the budget, but I'm all right with it.
Okay, so can we repeat the motion?
So
there's a amendment. Let me
with
read
a friendly amendment, Commissioner
Yeah.
Garcia, if you please accept the additional language. But motion for public health to work with management and budget, OMB, to transfer $4 million of eligible expenses to Harris Health. This transfer of costs would be used to restore the Harris County Public Health offsets and or fund enhancements at the discretion of the Harris County Public Health Director and OMB in the currently proposed FY26 budget.
I accept that amendment.
Okay, so did you get that motion?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so motion by Commissioner Briones. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Garcia. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right. Now.
The motion to. Okay.
Yeah, I made it earlier. You just read the language.
Yeah, to set a public hearing on September. Is it that one? Okay. We've already read it a couple times, right?
Yes, Judge.
Do we need the second one, the budget one? So we did, the tax rate one was made, but not the budget. So just to be
It was
clear.
read out. It
Yeah.
just wasn't acted on.
Okay, so do you need us to read the budget one again?
Second.
We're good.
Okay, all right, so motion by Commissioner Ellis, second by Commissioner Garcia. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Motion carries 4-1. All right, so now we move on to the general fund, right?
Is that right? General fund is next?
That's
So
correct.
I'd like to make a motion by acclamation, take a break. Regardless, I'm leaving.
Praise be.
Okay. All right, it's 3:38, and we'll be back 10 till.